Neverness to Everness is a new action RPG developed by Hotta Studios, otherwise known as the devs who created Tower of Fantasy. While Tower of Fantasy may not have received the reputation it had hoped for, it would serve as a crash course of experience for their upcoming game. But has Hotta Studios learned from their mistakes with Tower of Fantasy and used that experience to create something one of a kind? Today, we'll be having a look at the closed beta tests for Neverness to Everness to find out for ourselves. I was able to get access to the Chinese exclusive test server for being a past Tower of Fantasy content creator. That being said, while I no longer play Tower of Fantasy anymore, I still have a lot of experience when it comes to Hotta Studios and how this company functions. I was also a top ranker in that game, so I have a good idea of what I'm talking about. NTE shares some similarities with Tower of Fantasy, right down to its art styles, animations, and NPCs. It feels a little odd seeing animations I recognize instantly, like the one where you run on walls, and some buildings don't even serve a purpose but still appear on the minimap. There's a lack of teleport points, so your car actually serves a purpose, despite how NPCs will crash right into you, and the combat is visually appealing. It feels great at first, however, the limited roster of characters at the beta test makes experimenting scarce. But if that's all I have to say that's bad about the beta tests, this is a pretty damn good game. Even though Neverness to Neverness shares the same DNA as Tower, it takes its visuals to 11, creating beautiful scenarios and breathtaking special effects in combat. It also isn't afraid to mix it up with different art styles and expressions. If there's one word I could describe the style of NTE, it would be attitude. Its art direction brings personality to the table over anything else, while still having competitive graphics in the industry. The game has spunk, and it knows it, but it can also become oddly eerie when meeting faceless threats. NTE's moods and vibes will not disappoint you. One of the biggest missed opportunities with Tower of Fantasy was its side content. Some people watching this video probably don't know that it has car racing, fishing, an apartment you can buy, and you can adopt pets and capture mounts and all these other activities to pass the time. However, these extra modes were always half-baked. They were never satisfying or rewarding enough for players to invest into. NTE takes a step in the right direction to ensure all variety of content has actual effort put into it. For example, you can buy an apartment and furnish it with items you buy throughout the city. However, apartments are expensive, so you want to make money by opening a cafe. And to open a cafe, you actually have to go to the grocery store to buy the ingredients needed to create the dishes on the menu that you selected. Not only that, but sometimes customers will have complaints or cause a fuss, and it's up to you as a manager to visit that property to de-escalate the situation. It's the love and care that are put into these small activities that add up to a proper gameplay loop outside of combat. And NTE, you can make a team of 4 characters, and each character has a normal skill, an ultimate skill, and an intro skill. The combat is pretty straightforward and simple if you're used to open world action RPGs. Unlike Tower of Fantasy, the game is easy to pick up without having to understand a booklet of terms. Enemies have a stagger bar that increases with normal attacks and skills, and once they're stunned, you can unleash your most powerful abilities to fit in huge damage. There's also dodge indicators, and players are rewarded with more damage for perfectly evading attacks. While NTE doesn't do anything exclusive with its combat compared to its competition, it does make sure that everything is polished. The gameplay is very smooth, responsive, and most importantly, fun. Despite being an open world RPG, it is not littered with a bunch of collectibles. There are only 2 collectibles in the game as of the closed beta test. One of these are Raven Orbs that you find to upgrade your max stamina. Think of these like the Oculus that you collect in Genshin to bring back to the statues. And the other are just chests that you open after defeating some monsters. Neither of these are gated by micro puzzles that waste the player's time that you do repeatedly. I can say with confidence that Hotta Studios has officially cooked with this one. They took the experience and the money from Tower of Fantasy to create a game that caters to doing a variety of activities over strictly combat. For some people, that may be a turnoff, but for many, it will be a breath of fresh air. I truly think NTE has a lot going for it, And this is only the beta test right now. We don't even have a gacha in the game, and co-op is something they're hoping to add in the future at a later time. But so far, first impressions are great. If you want to see more NTE content, consider subscribing. I'll have more coming soon, and it motivates me when people want more. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. Take care.